Hello and welcome to the Perth Blue Baggers Pod. We're back after a long wait. We finally found some time and it's going to be a good one. We're going to be doing our best 23. So we'll be discussing why or why not we have players in the team. It's good to get back into it. So we'll kind of get straight in.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. These conversations are always interesting ones. There's always a bit of debate over who's in and who's not in.
Yeah. And I think we'll find that there's plenty of depth. And so that means lots of discussion. So we'll just list pretty much every position. And then on our socials, we'll be posting it visually for you.
All right, so I'm going to start. This is Carlton's best 23. And it's not including two people out for the season, Nick Newman and Jacob Smith, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But pretty much everyone else, we're assuming, is going to be available for some part of the season. So they're fair game.
Yeah.
All right, so from fullback, Cowan, Wiedering and McGovern. On the halfback line, Ollie Hollands, Haynes and Sard. Centre line, Akers, Cripps and Doherty. Half forward, Fogarty, Mackay and Elijah Hollands. Full forward, Motlop, Curnow and Williams. And ruck rover, De Koning, Walsh and Chera. On the interchange, we've got Silvani, Kemp, Cottrell and Hewitt. And the sub is Lord.
Cooper Lord.
Cooper Lord. Three emergencies we've named Boyd, Binns and Fantasia. So should we start with discussing the fullback line?
Yeah, sure. So
that's Cowan, Wiedering and McGovern. So Wiedering is your master. He's fullback and All-Australian. Cowan has had a sensational back half of the year and I think he's also had a pretty good first season. I think a lot of people see him as one of our real backmen, as like someone who's absolutely going to be nailing down a regular place week in, week out. Still pretty young. McGovern is your third tall in my view. He's the guy that comes across and intercepts the ball. He's the third man into the contest. He also needs a bit of freedom so he can run off the halfback and help set up your attacks as well. At the halfback line, Ollie Hollands, his pace and his run from halfback will be really important. We just need really good disposals from him.
New test.
Yeah, he was on the wing most of last season.
Yeah.
So this will be a bit of a different role for him, but he's been training there and playing there during the preseason.
Yeah.
Haynes, not everyone would have Haynes in the team, but I think you need two real key backs. And I think that's what he's brought in there. He's brought in there for that reason. And if you've got two key forwards, he's your second back to look after that second key forward. So, and then Sard. I mean, Adam Sard's just huge off half-back, and he's the guy that sets up a lot of your attacks, and we want him running and carrying the ball forward.
So Haynes looked very good aerially during the practice match against GWS. So that will help his position, and I think we'll probably get about 2 years out of him.
Yeah, he's not there for development, put it that way.
Yeah.
He's there to play, and I think, like I said, Wiedering does need some support there, and none of the other players are really a sort of a real key lockdown backman for your big forwards. So I think it's helpful.
And he'll play a bit of a mentoring role for the developing backman, you think?
Yes. And I think, as you said, he showed a bit of promise against the Giants. I thought he was pretty solid.
Yeah.
So it's centre line, Akers, Cripps and Doherty. And, Akers is probably our best wingman.
Yeah.
He runs and runs. He's got a massive tank on him. And he gets forward and he gets back. Cripps, of course. he's just reigning Brownlow medalist. And Doherty. I think Doherty will be more likely to play on the wing or even the odd pinch hit in the midfield this time. I think that's a bit of a change from him playing a lot of games in the back line. That seems to be hinted by the club with the way he's played his pre-season to date. So keep an eye out for that. And I think Cottrell. So just on the backman, I think Silvani's I've got coming off the bench into the back line.
Yeah.
And I think he's very versatile. So he offers a number of things. He can play big or he can play small. And, of course, he can back up ruck. And I think that we're not proposing a second ruckman. So I think Silvani's very handy on the bench there.
Yeah.
As well. Now, on the bench, we've also got Cottrell. And Cottrell's your other man. He'll probably come onto a wing when he comes on.
Or half forward.
Or half forward. So, and he's another guy who'll run and run and run. So that's the centre line. The half forward line is Fogarty, Mackay, and Elijah Hollands. Now, not everyone will play Fogarty, but in my view, he should play because Carlton is a better team with Fog in it. His defensive pressure in the forward line, his forward line pressure, is enormous.
Yep.
And he forces turnovers and he helps. And turnovers, of course, are your leading source of goals.
Yeah.
In footy in 2025. So he's really essential like that. And when he's fit and firing, I think he's absolutely a lock at that sort of half-forward line.
There was one instance in the GWS game where he basically put enough pressure on the GWS defender to bring out the ball into the goal square and he managed to kick a goal from it. So he can even generate his own goals from his own defensive pressure.
He does, but for him, it's not just going to be measured in goals, is it? It's going to be measured in the pressure acts that he does. I think Elijah Hollands had an outstanding year last year. I think it's probably the real player last year. I mean, we were hoping he'd make the best 22, weren't we? But he just really excelled, and I think he exceeded expectations last year. So let's hope he has another big year this year.
Yep. Surprise All-Australian, maybe.
Well, you never know. I mean, I reckon the ceilings. I mean, he's still pretty young.
Yeah.
And the ceiling for him is high. I mean, he's a very dynamic player. When he gets going, he's amazing. And he's a bit of an X factor.
Indeed.
And you need a few X factors. Full forward line. Speaking of X factors, you've got Motlop, Curnow, and Williams. And look, the small forward role at Carlton is always a bit controversial and contentious. We've got plenty of them. They've kind of been a bit of a merry-go-round with our small forwards. Yeah. And Motlop had a poor 24 by anyone's admission, but he was injured for a good part of it. And we know that his best is sensational. He's just that opportunistic forward that pops up and kicks goals at the right time. And I think his pre-season has been pretty good to date. And he did well for the Indigenous All-Stars. He did well in the pre-season, the two pre-season matches. Mm-hmm. And I think he's ready to go.
Yep.
I think he's ready for a big season. He's still young as well. I think he's going to keep on improving. Curnow say no more. And Williams. I mean, Williams was a bit of a surprise packet. We would have liked him to play a few more games. He had a few injuries. But when he was fit, when he was playing, he was really quite dynamic. And he surprised a lot of people with his forward play. And so he's a bit of a chaos merchant. He's the kind of guy that swoops on the ball, he lays a tackle, he makes things happen, turns the ball over. He's been very good at the goal assists. He sets up the other players. So I think Williams is going to be playing. When we go to the Ruck Rover line, TDK is he is already a superstar, but I think he's going to go to a new level. We just hope he stays fit. That's my only concern with him. Yep. But if he's fit, he is really going to blow this competition open.
Yep. And Max Gawn reckons he could be a generational talent.
Well, I think that's realistic.
Yeah.
Because his athletic ability for a ruckman is extraordinary.
Yeah.
You know, his tank is amazing. He takes marks all over the ground. He's good off, not only in the air, but on the ground.
Yeah. And
he can go forward and kick goals. So he's really can do just about anything. So I think we're really looking forward to TDK's year. Actually.
Hopefully we can re-sign him.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the big question everyone's going to be talking about is TDK's contract.
Yeah.
Which runs out at the end of this year. I'm hoping, all things considered, he actually signs mid-year and extends.
Yeah.
But look, I guess we'll see.
The club is confident that they will re-sign him.
Well, he seems to be playing great football with the Blues, and it's really happy here. So, he's got good he's got good friendships with all the players. I hope that counts for something.
Yeah.
And the club's on an upwards trajectory if they can stay injury free.
Yeah, more than St Kilda.
Anything can happen. They don't want to go to those Saints. Surely not.
No.
So, and with TDK's Walsh and Chera, and I think that's a bit of a no-brainer. They're the other two really classy midfielders. They're probably midfielder 2 and 3 after Cripps. And, Walsh, I think what worries me a little bit, Walsh, he's had yet another interrupted pre-season. But, he is someone that, because he looks after him so well and himself so well and he's such a professional, he could just hit the ground running. He's a really dynamic player. I think he might get back. I thought he had a slightly better year in 23 than 24. We forget in 23 he was the player of the finals.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he can get back to that 23 form. He missed probably was the first 4 or 5 matches, I think, of 24.
Yeah. Came back against Adelaide Crows in round 5, I believe.
Yeah, so he missed a few matches, and and maybe that's part of it. He definitely played some very good games, and he's a very consistent player. But I'm looking forward to him going back to 23 form because I think he can. Another bloke who had a sensational 23, but quite a poor 24 was Adam Chera. Now I think we all know the reason why. I think he struggled with his fitness for most of the season, and even when he was playing, he wasn't 100% fit. But when he's fit and firing, and he's looking sharp, actually. I think he's looked like he's had a pretty good pre-season. He's got his body back together. So I'm confident that he'll have a really good season, and we need him. Yeah. We really need Chera firing.
Had reoccurring hamstring injury, probably ever since he missed those last 2 or 3 games of the 2023 home and away season. He managed to come back for finals. And then he's gone and had some work in the pre-season in some place in Dubai.
That's that high performance place, isn't it? That's said to help everyone with injury recuperation. I don't know. Sometimes these things are fancy talk. I'm not sure, but we just want him on the field. We want him playing his best footy, and I think if he does, he'll make a massive difference to the team. I mean, he's that class. He adds that touch of class when he's going. So that's the on-field ones. I think we mentioned Silvani off the bench. Brody Kemp is the other guy. I think he offers a bit of an X factor. He's that third tall when we need to. And look, he's been flying. He's really surprised me, I think, with how well he's going up forward. He's almost certain, I think, in round 1 to be playing at centre half forward and probably Harry at full or the other way around, one or the both. I hope he's been working on his goal kicking during the off season. I think that's really important. But he can definitely fly and take a mark. He played a lot of junior footy in the forward line, and he'll be a good addition. So you've got Silvani as a spare man down back and Kemp up forward. We mentioned Cottrell and his run. And the other one, of course, is Georgie Hewitt. Georgie Hewitt is walk-up start on a lot of teams. He's a really gutsy in and under contested football winner, and he can also tag too. And I think so. He's got a few strings to his bow. I'd expect to be playing most games, and he's definitely in our best 22.
Yeah,
I think he was probably Hewitt that unfortunately squeezed out Matty Kennedy. I think they're similar styles of play. He's a very good player. And look, as a bit of a, you can throw a blanket over a few other players for the sub, but Cooper Lord. Cooper Lord, he showed us a little bit of what he was capable of those guys that sort of came in at the back end of the season when we had injuries. I thought Lord was the one that impressed the most.
Yeah.
He racked up a lot of the ball. He used it well. He linked up with the other players. Had a couple of goal assists. Yeah, and by all accounts, he's had a superb pre-season. Everyone in the club's sort of talking him up.
Looks pretty built up too. So maybe he could also replace Hewitt eventually if he gets to that sort of size.
Yeah.
I think that's what the general consensus is around the team, that there's also room for him with his consistency and impact this season. And because Jagger Smith has been ruled out, he probably would have been behind him to get a go now. He needs to step up. Recently he got a new contract re-signing.
Yeah, yep,
So-
has his contract extended. So he should have a lot of confidence with that. And this is unfortunately Jagger Smith got injured. We're all disappointed about that. And I think the one man who should benefit from that is Cooper Lord.
Yeah.
And get his opportunity. And from what we've seen to date, I think he'll take it.
And as Voss said, one man's misfortune is someone else's fortune, something like that.
Someone else's opportunity? I'm not sure.
Fortune.
For the emergency, we had Boyd, Binns and Fantasia. Jordan Boyd is probably a little bit lucky to miss out. Unlucky to miss out. Handy Backman, right in the hunt. It's probably just behind the spots that two people he was contesting with were Cowan and Silvani. And I think Cowan's just a little bit ahead of him at the moment. And Silvani, I've picked Silvani because of versatility.
Yeah.
Because of the different strings to his bow. But I've got no doubt that Boyd will be getting opportunities.
Yes.
In 2025.
And he needs to take those opportunities with open arms and make the most of it if he wants to keep the spot in the team, because it's going to be ruthless.
Yeah.
I hope the club's ruthless, and they'll probably be ruthless in the trade period again.
Oh, they will. They let a few people go last time. Some the sorts of players that the supporters loved. So, I mean, they really mean business. And I think we do want to see all of our players succeed. We'd love to see Boyd really come on again and make an impact. I think another guy we'd like to see come on is Jackson Binns,
Yeah.
who showed a bit. I mean, he apparently tore up the VFL week on week. He had a few opportunities late in the season, which was pleasing to see, and he did some good things. You know, I think the fact his emergency shows that that's a full-strength team just about where he's an emergency. So I'd expect him to have opportunities.
Yeah.
And I hope he takes them, and I hope he can make that step up to the AFL level because clearly he's got a bit of ability, and we hope he does well.
Also, hoping that, fans have been calling him out as a new Paddy Dow. I've heard and seen comments and stuff like that. I don't think that's reasonable. He's barely played anything. Judge when he's had more experience playing.
That's a really good call, Louis, because Paddy Dow played quite a few games on and off.
Yeah.
Binns has played, 2 or 3 games or something?
3 games, one as a sub for like 10 minutes, and then the other 2 were in West Coast and St Kilda.
So he's barely played at the AFL level, so I think we're a bit harsh in judging him at the moment, and I think he'll get some opportunities this year.
Yeah.
So I hope he takes it. I had Fantasia as the other emergency. It's the third emergency. He's had a reasonable pre-season. Fantasia did a few good things. Probably a little bit more consistency from Fantasia would be good.
And games.
And he's sort of been in and out, and he had a few injuries himself. So we want him on the park, and you want him stringing a few games together. And I think there's still a role for Fantasia.
Yeah.
All these 3 boys as emergencies, they're all going to get a go.
Yeah.
Because that's your full strength team for the year, and we've always got injuries, as you know.
And some of the others that we won't name, who are
we can mention a few that missed out.
Yeah.
I think so. I think Matty Carroll. I think he probably might need to bide his time in the VFL a little bit.
he didn't even play last season because of some random, I think it was a groin injury, I think, something like that. That kept him out for most of the season, and we got delisted, and then he managed to get an SSP spot.
Well, Lewis Young, who I think's a bit behind the other 2 talls at the moment, and there was talk he was going to get traded at the end of the last season.
Yeah.
He's there at depth at the moment. You never know though. Funny things happen. You only need a couple of injuries to your talls. We don't have a lot of talls, and he's probably back in.
And again, if he makes the most of his opportunity, he'll be fine. Hopefully he can get to that 2022 form, and he needs to make sure he performs at VFL level to be considered.
And I want to talk a little bit about the two Camperelli boys. Lucas has shown a real lot. At the last game, 20 touches, and no one played full minutes. So for him to play that well, look, he's a bit of a smoky for round one, actually.
Yeah.
There's been some talk about that coming off a wing. I think he'll get some early opportunities because you need that kind of player with a run and carry.
Yeah.
So I think he's right in the mix, actually. And Ben's had a few early setbacks with injury.
Some foot infection.
Yeah. So, Ben was very highly rated, and I expect him to be really pushing for selection when he's fit too. So I wouldn't necessarily rule out either or both of those Camperelli boys getting a debut this season.
Yeah.
So we hope they do really well. The one guy who might struggle a little bit from previous years might be Chincotta. He tapered off a little bit in the back part of the season, but we hope he bounces back. He had a very good sort of first half of the season because he won't be missing a good chunk of the season this time round, and that's why it can be a little bit difficult sort of coming back and pushing for his berth. But he did some really good tagging efforts last time. And, if we're after that kind of person, you never know.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens. I think just a quick mention for Corey Durden. Corey Durden probably, again, didn't have quite as much impact last year. Had a few injuries as well. He needs to find form. I'm really hoping when Durden's at his best, he can do some really amazing things.
Yeah.
So really hoping he finds his fitness and finds his form and pushes for a berth as well. There's a few other boys that are really new, need to find some time in the VFL, a few of our draft picks and some of the SSBs. So
Francis Evans and
Will White, is it?
Will White.
Yeah, I think they're just going to need a little bit of time to show what they're capable of, along with some of our draft picks and our project players, you might say.
The competition for the small forwards will be pretty fierce, so if one isn't performing and another is, I reckon they'll swap and change. Fantasia seems to be pretty preferred by Vossy.
Well, another guy we didn't mention, you mentioned small forwards, is Ashton Moyer.
Yes.
And he really showed a spark off the coming in as a sub late last year. So, it was really impressive, actually, with the things he could do. I think the word out of Carlton is he needed to work on his fitness a little bit to run the fourth quarters. But I think if he can get on top of that, he'll be, he's definitely got a lot of talent and ability, that guy.
Again, I think we'll see some games of him and maybe still a sub for a few games as well, but hopefully he gets into that full game sort of position.
Yeah, that'd be really good. So,
Go through other players.
Oh, well, I didn't mention Pitnet. Look, he's very important still. TDK's got himself injured at various times. So the minute that happens, then Pitnet's your natural guy to jump in. When we're playing against teams that have a lot of tools, I expect that he'll be very important because we might play two at times. And Pitnet's had a pretty good career for us overall. I think he probably just suffers a little bit by comparison to TDK.
Yeah. It's a conventional ruck.
He's a conventional ruck, So as a tap ruckman, he's very good. He just obviously he can't quite deliver what TDK does around the ground. Who can? So I suspect there'll probably be some opportunities for him during the season too. Look, there's a few other guys, project players. That I guess we'll see. Wilson's played a lot of VFL now.
He's got a lot of speed, so sort of the mantra's been speed and power. If he fits that category, maybe he could come, but he seems to be more a light for Adam Side. So unless Adam Side gets some significant injury or, eventually when he retires, maybe Billy Wilson will be the likely successor of Sardi.
I think Harry Lemmy wasn't far away from debuting late last year. And he's obviously behind Kerno and Mackay
And Kemp now.
and Kemp now. But he's a longer term prospect, and a few of these boys are longer term prospects.
Hudson O'Keefe, Ruck.
Harry O'Farrell, just been drafted.
Yeah.
You
Key defender. So
Yeah.
maybe he can help out Weeters in the future or replace Weeters.
Well, he's going to be learning off the best,
Yeah.
isn't he? So, I mean, with a couple of these boys, when you're a key position player, it usually takes a few years before you're peaking.
Yeah.
And they're going to be learning their craft alongside the very best.
Mm.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty much...
Monaghan and Duffy, Irish recruits, I think they still need to learn their craft. They're listed as specific positions, but I think they'll get trialled anyway. Those two.
And Charleston, I think he was a rookie listed.
Yeah. Defender, medium defender, I think.
Yeah. So, there's a few of those boys that are just going to spend a bit of time in the VFL, try their luck.
Yeah.
We mentioned Will Wright. He'll spend some time in the VFL as well. And Francis Evans, see what they're like. And, if they can show enough, they might get an opportunity.
Yep.
All right.
That turned into a bit of a best 23 and, season previews of each of the players too, which is good.
I think it's good. It's good to
2 episodes
explore the whole list and there's potential. I think that we've got a mix of a really competitive situation to get into our 22. But on the other hand, there's going to be spots and opportunities for those people, for most of those players, and if they take them, anything can happen.
Yeah. It's good to see. Good to have these discussions. Good to see how much depth we have, and tune in for Instagram especially when we will put out the best 23 graphic. So make sure you like, comment. We'll put some of our notes down too, so you don't have to refer back to this, but really we want you to be listening to this. See where our thoughts came from. So I think that'll do us. Thanks for tuning in. Up the Baggers.
Go the Blues.